Today we're diving into a topic that resonates with more people than you might imagine. A psychological experience that shapes lives in profound ways. We're talking about the psychology of people who were never anyone's first choice. If you've ever felt like you're always the backup plan, the second option, or the person someone settles for, this is for you. And if you haven't experienced this, understanding it will give you incredible insight into the minds and hearts of people around you who carry this burden silently. Let's start with what this really means. Being someone's second choice isn't just about romantic relationships, though that's where it hurts the most visibly. It's about being the friend who only gets invited when someone else cancels. It's about being the child whose siblings always seem to shine brighter in your parents' eyes. It is about being the employee who watches others get promoted while you're retold you're valuable but somehow never quite valuable enough. It's a pattern that repeats itself across different contexts, and when it happens enough times, it doesn't just hurt. It fundamentally changes how you see yourself and the world around you. The psychological impact of this experience runs deep into the architecture of self. When you're repeatedly chosen second, your brain starts to internalize a narrative that you are inherently less than others. This isn't a conscious choice. It's an automatic process where your mind tries to make sense of patterns. If multiple people across multiple situations consistently choose someone else first, your brain concludes there must be something about you that makes you less desirable, less lovable, less worthy. This becomes your core belief. And core beliefs are incredibly powerful because they operate like filters through which you interpret every new experience. What happens next is particularly heartbreaking. People who have been second choice develop what psychologists call a scarcity mindset around relationships. They become so grateful when anyone chooses them at all that they accept treatment they shouldn't accept. They stay in relationships where they were clearly not valued, because leaving means risking that nobody else will want them either. They become experts at reading rooms, at making themselves useful, at being lamented and undemanding, all in an effort to not give anyone a reason to choose someone else instead. They learn to make themselves small. There's also a hypervigilance that develops. If you've been second choice enough times, you've become incredibly attuned to signs that it's happening again. You notice when someone's eyes light up more for another person. You feel it when enthusiasm in someone's voice shifts depending on who they're talking to. You can sense when you're being compared to someone else and coming up short. This awareness is exhausting. It means you never fully relax in relationships, because part of your brain is always scanning for evidence that you're about to be replaced or overlooked again. Interestingly, this often creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The anxiety and insecurity that comes from being second choice can actually push people away. When you're constantly seeking reassurance, when you interpret neutral behaviors as rejection, when you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, it creates tension in relationships. People might pull back, not because you are actually second choice, but because the anxiety you carry makes the relationship feel heavy. And when they do pull back, it confirms your worst fears, strengthening the belief that you're not good enough. Let's talk about the specific patterns that emerge. One of the most common is called preemptive rejection. People who fear being second choice often reject others before they can be rejected themselves. They sabotage relationships right when things start getting good because they go in to believe that this time will be different. They find flaws in partners who actually care about them. They create distance when someone gets close. It's a defense mechanism. If you reject first, you maintain control, and you wanna have to experience that familiar pain of watching someone choose someone else over you. Another pattern is the chameleon effect. People who have been second choice often become incredible at adapting to what others want. They lose touch with their own preferences, opinions, and needs, because they've learned that being themselves hasn't been enough. They study what the other person likes and try to become that. In friendships, they're always agreeable. In relationships, they mold themselves to their partner's ideal. At work, they become whatever their boss seems to value. The tragedy here is that even when they do get chosen, they don't feel truly seen or loved because the person isn't choosing the real them. They're choosing the version they've carefully constructed. There is also a phenomenon where people become attracted to unavailable people or situations where they definitely be second choice. This seems counterintuitive, but it makes psychological sense. If you believe you're not worthy of being first choice, you unconsciously seek out situations that confirm that belief. You fall for people who are clearly in love with someone else. You pursue people who explicitly tell you they're not looking for anything serious. You invest in friendships with people who clearly prioritize others. It feels safe in a twisted way because you know what to expect. Being someone's first choice would create cognitive dissonance that your brain isn't equipped to handle, so you avoid it entirely. The impact on mental health cannot be overstated. Chronic feelings of being second choice are strongly associated with depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. There's often a persistent sadness that people carry, a grief for the version of life where they feel genuinely wanted and valued. Many develop social anxiety because every interaction carries the potential for that familiar rejection. Some develop depression characterized by feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness about ever being truly chosen. The constant comparison to others, always measuring yourself against whoever was chosen first, is mentally exhausting and erodes well-being over time. Let's address something crucial here. If you recognize yourself in this description, I want you to know that your feelings are valid and your experience matters. But I also want to gently challenge a core assumption. The belief that you are objectively less worthy than others is not a fact. It's an interpretation your brain has made based on limited and often biased data. Sometimes being second choice says nothing about your worth and everything about compatibility, timing, circumstance, or even the other person's own issues and insecurities. Consider these. Maybe you weren't your parent's favorite because you reminded them of parts of themselves they didn't like. Maybe you didn't get chosen for relationships because you were actually too good for people who were ready for something real. Maybe friends chose others because those relationships were easier, not better. Maybe you've been overlooked at work because you're actually overqualified and they fear you'll leave, or because office politics have nothing to do with merit. There are countless scenarios where being second choice is about factors completely unrelated to your inherent value as a human being. The healing process from this psychological pattern is real and it's possible, but it requires deliberate effort. The first step is awareness, and if you're watching this and recognizing yourself, you've already taken that step. The next step is challenging your core beliefs. This means catching yourself when you interpret situations through the lens of not being good enough, and asking yourself if there are alternative explanations. It means looking for evidence that contradicts your belief. Yes, you need to actively search for times when you were chosen, when you were valued, when you were enough. Therapy can be transformative here, particularly approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy or schema therapy that specifically address core beliefs. A good therapist can help you see patterns you QA and see yourself and provide tools to rewire your thinking. They create a relationship where you are the first priority, where you are genuinely chosen week after week, and that experience itself can be healing. Another critical piece is learning to choose yourself. This sounds like a cliché, but it's profound. If you wait for external validation to feel worthy, you give away your power. Choosing yourself means making decisions based on what you need, not just what will make others choose you. It means leaving situations where you're not valued instead of fighting to prove yourself. It means pursuing your interests, even when they don't make you more attractive to others. It means setting boundaries, which might cause some people to walk away, and being okay with that because you'd rather be alone than be someone's second choice. Building a relationship with yourself is essential. People who have been second choice often neglect themselves because they don't feel worthy of their own time and energy. Start treating yourself like someone you love. Take yourself on dates. Invest in your hobbies. Talk to yourself with kindness. Notice when your inner voice sounds like the critical voices from your past and consciously choose a different tone. This isn't narcissism. It's self-compassion. And research shows it's one of the most powerful predictors of mental well-being. It's also important to deliberately seek out and create relationships where you are valued. This might mean being more selective about who you invest in. It might mean walking away from friendships or relationships that reinforce the old pattern. It definitely means noticing when someone does choose you, does show up for you, does value you, and allowing yourself to fully receive that instead of dismissing it or waiting for it to end. Your brain will try to discount evidence that contradicts your core belief, so you have to consciously acknowledge and internalize it. Something powerful happens when you start speaking your truth. Many people who have been second choice suffer in silence because they're afraid that naming it will push people away. But when you have the courage to say, I feel like I'm not a priority to you, or I need more consistency in this friendship, or I don't want to be someone's backup plan, you create an opportunity for real connection or necessary distance. People who truly care will hear you and adjust. People who don't will show themselves, and that's valuable information. Let's also talk about forgiveness, both of others and yourself. Holding on to resentment toward everyone who chose someone else over you keeps you stuck in victim mode. This doesn't mean what they did was okay or that you should allow them back into your life. It means releasing the emotional charge so you can move forward, and forgiving yourself for all the times you accepted less than you deserved, for all the times you made yourself small, for all the ways you betrayed yourself to try to be chosen. That's equally important. You are doing the best you could with the beliefs and resources you had at the time. As you heal, you'll notice shifts. You'll stop being drawn to unavailable people. You'll feel less anxiety in relationships. You'll be able to celebrate others' successes without it triggering your own feelings of inadequacy. You'll set boundaries more easily. You'll notice when you're being treated poorly and you'll actually do something about it. You'll start having preferences and expressing them. You'll take up space. These changes don't happen overnight, but they do happen. Here's something beautiful that often emerges from this experience. People who have been second choice and who do the work to heal often develop extraordinary empathy and emotional intelligence. They can read people and situations with remarkable accuracy. They notice the marginalized and overlooked and make them feel seen. They build deep, authentic connections because they value being truly known. They don't take relationships for granted. The wound, when healed properly, becomes a source of wisdom and compassion. I want to end with this. Your worth is not determined by how many people choose you first. Your worth is inherent. It exists simply because you exist. You are not the sum of other people's decisions about you. You are not defined by who overlooked you or who chose someone else. Every person who didn't choose you was simply not your person, not your people, not your path, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to choose you. You need the right people to choose you. And more importantly, you need to choose yourself. The narrative that you're second choice is a story your brain created to protect you, to make sense of painful experiences, to give you some sense of control by lowering your expectations. But it's a story, not a truth, and stories can be rewritten. You have the pen, you get to write the next chapter, and it can be one where you are the main character, where you matter, where you are enough, where you are chosen, starting with being chosen by yourself. Thank you for watching.